The former deputy campaign chairman for President Trump, David Bossie, joins us now live from Washington, I believe. And David, I understand you live in Montgomery County. The top story this morning that everyone's talking about besides Obamacare is what happened to that 14-year-old little girl in the bathroom of a high school in that county. Two illegal immigrants allegedly raping her in the bathroom. You live in this community. That community, from what I understand, is trying to become a sanctuary city. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, it's just a horrendous crime, and my heart goes out to that family. I have 4 kids in the school systems in Montgomery County, Maryland. I have a daughter who's a sophomore in high school, and I can tell you. This story has reverberated around the county and around Maryland. Look, they're trying to make Rockville a sanctuary city where this happened. They're trying to make Maryland a sanctuary state. Yeah. And Governor Hogan, the governor of Maryland, has very courageously come out and said if this passes the House and Senate in Annapolis, he will veto it. So hopefully this shakes people up in Montgomery County to understand exactly what's going on and the dangers that some of these people present to the community at large.
Yeah. I mean, you have 820,000 of the 11 million estimated illegal aliens here are convicted criminals.
Yeah. And those are the ones...
Yeah.
And we all know those are the ones that President Trump is really concerned about. Those are the ones that he is saying we need to get out of the country right now, immediately. And that's what he's told the Department of Homeland Security to really focus on. So this is a perfect example. It is a horrendous thing to have happen to this young lady. And I think the American people, once again, will wake up to the dangers that are presented.
Sure. We know for sure the 18-year-old is in the country illegally. We don't know about the 17-year-old because he's a juvenile, and ICE will not, and the courts will not reveal his immigration status. But, you know, the 18-year-old was stopped in Texas a couple of months back, and they had the opportunity to turn him around, but because Barack Obama's policies were such, they wrote this guy a ticket and said, okay, someday you're going to see a judge. Now, David, explain how, under President Trump, that policy is going to change.
Well, that policy is going to be very simple. You get caught doing something illegal as an illegal immigrant here in this country, you're going to be deported immediately.
Including the simple act of crossing the border illegally.
That's right. You're going to be sent back immediately. And that's what needs to happen. And by the way, that's a huge deterrent. You're going to see a downturn in people just trying to make the cross once the American law enforcement community really just prosecutes the laws that are on the books.
David, are these countries going to take them back? Because yesterday in the news it was these countries don't want them back.
Well, first of all, they're not going to have a choice. President Trump, I don't think the negotiator that is President Trump is going to be standing for countries and leaders of countries telling them they're not going to want their own citizens. So I'm not worried about that. They're going to take them back.
Let's talk politics, and let's talk about the negotiator-in-chief. He was down at Capitol Hill meeting with the Republican caucus yesterday, trying to get the votes necessary of 215 estimated to pass this health care reform and get it over to the Senate. It doesn't look like he's got the votes yet. What's at stake for the president? Because some would say that he probably doesn't really, there's so many problems with this bill and so much could go wrong, he might have a quick victory now, but when it's implemented, it could be a big loss.
Well, you know, I think trying to get to the vote of 215 is really the hurdle for the moment. And I think that's why he's not able to, really it's the House leadership. It's not President Trump at all. Let me be very clear about this. President Trump is a leader who has campaigned and has stated, I want to repeal Obamacare as quickly as possible. The House leadership, it's their responsibility to come up with that bill and really bring together all parties, put together the best bill for the president's consideration.
Sure.
And so I think that they've really not done the best job in trying to get this, to Brian's point, of what it looks like when it's implemented. But also you have people who are saying this is not going to bring down premiums. This is not going to allow people to cross state lines. Those are problems that were fundamental in Obamacare. These were fundamental in what President Trump ran on. And when the president has learned that some of these things aren't in the bill, over the last several weeks, he has made sure to change them. He is a negotiator, and he is somebody who is willing to make a deal.
That's only in phase 3, David. He put it in phase 3, and that needs 60 votes. Just like some of these ideologues in the Senate who say just clean repeal and replace it with what we want, they're not going to get 60 votes. So that's not realistic either.
Yeah, you're right, Brian. I mean, that's never going to get 60 votes. And those are some of the things that I think should go from the third prong to the first prong. I'd like to see some changes made today. Look, they have time. This is not a problem. And I think that the House leadership is now fully aware. And I know, having talked to top level people at the White House, they are fully aware, and they are going to make a deal today.
Well, I tell you what, Tom Price said yesterday the administration is done negotiating, so it makes it sound... It kind of sounds like when Paul Ryan a week or two ago said, this is the bill, take it or leave it. Of course, it has undergone many changes. So is this just the next in many, okay, we're done, but there's probably some more negotiating down the table?
I think that is exactly right, Brian. We're going to see continued changes today and possibly even up through the vote tomorrow. And that's perfectly fine. That's the way legislation happens. And as long as it's transparent and the American people know what's going on, unlike Nancy Pelosi will have to pass it before we know what's in it, I think this is a good process, and I think the president's going to come out a winner tomorrow night.
Well, the premiums have got to come down.
Right, and just to say, you just said you talked to your sources, and you believe they're going to have the votes.
I think they're going to make a deal. I think they're going to make a deal to get the votes, and I think that they're going to continue to change this bill, as I said, over the next 36 hours or so until tomorrow evening. I have no problem believing that.
There's been so much news to report on this week, including Judge Gorsuch. He was grilled yesterday by some of these Democrats who were in favor of him when he was up for the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. Listen to what some of these Democrats, listen to some of their questioning. We'll get your reaction.
I had a career in identifying absurdity, and I know it when I see it.
Would the president have the authority to ban all Jews from the United States?
How do we have confidence in you that you won't just be for the big corporations, that you will be for the little men?
What's your reaction to this, David?
Well, it's the permanent campaign against President Trump. That's all that is. That's desperation and them trying to appease their hardcore leftist base. That's all that is. Look, Judge Gorsuch is by all accounts an incredible intellect, an incredible judge, voted on unanimously to go on the court a few years ago. He is going to pass, and he is going to be on the Supreme Court in the next few weeks.
Sure.
The left has no choice because they have no ideas to offer. They only can be against what President Trump is for. And even if it means, quite honestly, looking a little foolish in a hearing, because Judge Gorsuch is handling them very easily.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is, and I know it's driving the Democrats crazy, is they'll ask about an issue and he won't respond. But he's simply using what they refer to as the Ginsburg standard, where when she went through the hearing back in '93, she said she wasn't going to give any hints and no forecasts of how she would deal with any issues, and that's appropriate.
It is completely appropriate, no matter who the Supreme Court nominee is, whether we like it or not. You don't want a justice, one of the 9, to have already pre-decided a case in an answer to a question to a U.S. senator that's a hypothetical and then years later comes to pass. It is dangerous to do.
David, tonight there's going to be a town hall you're going to be a part of. It's the People's Report Card. Martha MacCallum's going to be hosting it, and she looks exactly like that. You'll be there. You don't know everything, but I know the Russia thing's going to come up. J.D. Gordon, Carter Page, you have others' names that have come up. Have you ever come in contact when you were involved in the campaign in any Russian influence? And these names, were they were major players?
No. Yeah, that's a great question. I've never been asked that. I was I was the deputy campaign manager, and I never had any whatsoever contact with the Russians. Look, once we were in the transition, it was perfectly appropriate for Mike Flynn and many others to have contact with many world leaders, with many representatives of countries during that transition time. It's perfectly acceptable and has been done for hundreds of years. So this issue again, is part of the permanent campaign against President Trump. And to be quite honest, I think this is very dangerous ground for the Democrats, because they're really using this political angle to really ruin our foreign policy with a major foreign power, and I think they shouldn't be doing it so lightly.
David Bossie, thanks so much.
We'll be watching tonight. Thank you, David. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.